Ms. Quarterman, why don't we have tank standard yet? I think you all have been working on that for 2.5 years, and as briefly as you can explain that, why has it taken that long?
Thank you, Senator Blunt. As you may know, the process started with both the entire department, both PHMSA and FRA, working very closely with AAR and their tank committee, looking at advancements to tank car standards. The end of that process resulted in a tank car standard the department was not willing to support, and it also did not address some of the operational issues that were on the table as part of that tank car committee.
So your
discussion.
outside advisory group came back with standards that you didn't think were adequate?
The AAR's outside advisory group, correct. And so we decided to go forward with a rulemaking process. That rulemaking process began in 2012, where we began to draft standards. As part of that process, we began to get a series of petitions in that slowed down our finalizing an advance notice of proposed rulemaking. That advance notice went out in September. We got more than 150,000 individuals commenting on that as of December the 5th. I can tell you that now FRA and PHMSA are sequestered together, drafting a notice of proposed rulemaking. We have our regulatory experts in the room, our financial experts who have to deal with the regulatory analysis that's required on that rule, and we're working extremely hard. I think we are close to a first draft, and I can tell you I've never seen a rule drafted faster than that.
Ms. Quarterman, what on the strike force, were you testing a new rule, or was this a rule that the railroad should have, or the shipper rather? Who complies here, the shipper or the person?
The shipper or offerer is the person who needs to comply with the rules.
And was this a new rule?
No, it was not a new rule. It's an existing rule.
So your view is that in the strike force, on a rule that was existing and had been out there for how long? We talking years, months, days?
Many, many years.
That they were not complying. In how many cases out of how many?
I believe Senator Blumenthal was talking about, what was it, 11 out of 18 in one particular series of tests that we did. We've gone out about 5 or 6 different times, and we haven't finished our enforcement actions, obviously, so there may be more coming.
So in the total, is this 11 out of 18, or is this 11 out of a particular 8? I'm just interested here.
It's 11 out of a particular 18. It was one trip.
Out of one trip. That was the total test in that one trip was 18?
That's my recollection, yes.
And in terms of, are you going to change the way you require this testing? Is that in your proposed rule that we test for different things that we have?
It certainly is on the table. We are looking at everything related to the movement of crude oil, so classification issues are something that we're looking at as well.
Yeah. On the tank cars, I thought Senator Heitkamp made a particularly helpful observation about, you obviously have a lot more shipping going on, so the cars that were out there could be out there. What I don't understand, Mr. Hamburger, is who owns these cars? I think generally they've been owned by the shipper, but does that mean the orange juice cars are owned by the orange juice people, and the milk cars are owned by the milk people, and what does that mean?
Tank cars are a bit of an anomaly in that we own basically very few tank cars.
We being the railroad.
Being the railroads, yes, sir. They're owned either by producers or leasing companies who build them and then lease them out to the shippers. In other areas, boxcars, automotive bi-levels, tri-levels, many of those at least are owned by the railroads, but some of those are also owned directly either by a shipper or by a leasing company. But in the tank car area, it is almost not, as you mentioned, BNSF did just announce that they're going to purchase 5,000, but that is not the normal course.
And I assume that these cars can be, that the 111, if I'm using the right terminology, could still be used for something else, even if we decide for, I'm seeing a number of heads shaking there. So taking 111s off the railroad is a different question than using them for another purpose.
That is correct. Yes, our recommendation is not to use them for flammable liquids.